Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to this month's installment of Conscious Conversation featuring the awesome team of mental health therapists at Nashville Emotional Wellness here in Nashville, Tennessee. My name is Baylie Spring. Hi. And I am joined by Kristen Small, and we're excited to spend time with you today.
So, hello everyone. As Bailey mentioned, my name is Kristen Small, and today we will be unpacking the topic of attachment styles. So, conscious conversations are intended to educate, to uplift, and provide guidance on how to deal with some of life's stressors. Our motto here at New is real people helping real people with real problems. And these conversations are an opportunity just to have some real talk with just our team of therapists. So let's dive in. All right. So, as we said, we're talking about attachment styles. So, we're just going to break down what is attachment styles? Where did this come from? What is attachment theory? So just breaking it down that it was founded by psychoanalyst John Bowlby in the 1950s, and it was expanded by Mary Ainsworth. So basically, attachment theory outlines how you bond with your primary caregivers and how that bond sets the foundation for how you will navigate relationships throughout the rest of your life.
Yes, and the theory also states that the primary goal of a human infant is to maintain proximity to its caregiver, to which was necessary for survival during evolution. Um, Bowlby believed that because of this evolution, infants and toddlers were monitoring their parents to see what strategies would allow them to stay close to their parents.
It makes good sense to me. So I
Yeah.
think if we all think about that, I feel like this theory can resonate with a lot of us. And it's basically just telling us that our, you know, formative experiences really will inform the rest of our lives. And so breaking
Absolutely.
down attachment styles even further, there are four different types. So they are secure, avoidant, also known as dismissive or anxious avoidant. And then there's anxious, AKA preoccupied or anxious ambivalent. And then last but not least, disorganized. So we're going to start by explaining anxious. I'm sorry. Before we jump into that, actually, we want to break it down in the order that we presented. But I'm going to let Bailey check in and give us some more facts.
Yeah, so avoidant and anxious and disorganized are considered insecure attachment styles. If a child can consistently rely on their parents to fulfill their needs growing up, they're more likely to develop a secure attachment style. And we'll discuss in depth what a secure attachment style is and what it looks like and how it manifests. Um, they'll see relationships as a safe space. So in a secure attachment style, they'll see relationships in a safe space where they can express their emotions freely. On the other hand, insecure attachment styles develop if a child has had a strained bond with their caregivers. This happens when the child learns that they may not be able to rely on others to fulfill their basic needs and comfort. So yeah, let's unpack each attachment style, like we said, and just reflect on how they're developed, the signs and characteristics of each style, and just how they manifest in relationships.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Bailey. So, what is a secure attachment style? I feel like some of us have even had just kind of a basic understanding of it. So, we want to break it down a little bit further. But it is often defined by an ability to build a healthy, long lasting relationship. So, the way that this develops is that it is the result of feeling secure with your caregivers, as the name entails. and having that ability to ask for reassurance or validation without punishment. So ultimately, if you have a secure attachment, you felt safe, you felt understood, you felt comforted and valued during some of your most early interactions. Your caregivers were probably emotionally available and aware of their own emotions and behaviors. So, as a result, the children model and imitate secure attachment as well as they receive it from their caregivers. Baylie, tell us some of the signs. Like, what are some of the signs of a secure attachment style?
Yeah, and thank you for that background information just to kind of give the people understanding of what secure attachment style and just the basic understanding. But some signs are the ability to regulate your emotions. So if you have this ability to regulate your emotions, you potentially have a secure attachment style. Easily trusting others, effective communication skills, the ability to seek emotional support, comfortable being alone, comfortable being in close relationships with others,
Mhm.
ability to self-reflect in partnerships, that is key, and being easy to connect with, and the ability to manage conflict well, high self-esteem, and lastly, the ability to be emotionally available.
Big one.
Um,
That's a big one.
yes, yes. So how does it manifest in relationships? So we're kind of giving you some background information about attachment styles and this one particularly secure attachment, but how does it manifest in relationship? So securely attached people grow up feeling secure emotionally and physically and can engage in the world with others in a healthy way. So as a result, people with secure attachment styles tend to navigate relationships pretty well. They're genuinely positive, they're trusting and loving to their partners. Um, they trust their partner's intentions, and jealousy is often not an issue for them. Securely attached people feel that they're worthy of love and often don't need external reassurance.
Mhm. So basically, secure people are secure.
Yeah. Secure within themselves and
Yeah.
within their relationship that they have with someone.
Yeah, and as we discussed, all of that is a result of the love, the care, the nurturing, the attention that they received as a child. So let's discuss an avoidant attachment style. So avoidant, which is often referred to as dismissive avoidant or even anxious avoidant, are all words for this insecure attachment style. So it is often defined by a failure to build long-term relationships with others due to an inability to engage in physical and emotional intimacy. So the way that that shows up and the way that it's often developed is that in childhood, you may have had strict, firm, or emotionally distant and absent caregivers. So the caregivers could have left you to fend for yourself, expected you to be fully independent and fully capable and fully knowing. You may have been reprimanded for depending on them. You could have been rejected when expressing the things that you needed or just various emotions that you had. Or they could have been slow to respond to some of your basic needs. But yeah.
Yeah. And some avoidant producing parents are outright neglectful. As Kristen said, tend like being slow to respond to basic needs. But others are simply busy, so slightly disinterested and more concerned with things like grades, chores, or manners rather than feelings, hopes, dreams, or fears. As a result, peoples says that these children may learn to adopt a strong sense of independence so they don't have to rely on anyone else for their care or support.
And that's
Um,
key, Bailey. I feel like we all know individuals. We might even have been individuals at certain stages of our lives where we felt that because this need wasn't met, I'm gonna do it myself.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so some signs that you might have an anxious avoidant attachment style could be if you persistently avoid emotional or even physical intimacy. If you feel a strong sense of independence, there was an independent woman movement going on for the longest. And though on one hand, that can be extremely empowering, on another hand, we have to be mindful because it might be a trauma response.
Exactly.
Also, if you are uncomfortable expressing your feelings when it's time for you to share how you feel, how does that resonate for you?
Mm,
A sign for that could also be if you're dismissive of others, if you're just kind of like, no thanks. Nope, too much, you know? Or even if you have a hard time trusting, I feel like that's something, again, that a lot of us have felt.
yeah.
Even if you feel threatened by anyone who tries to get close to you, that closeness feels visceral. It feels, very unsafe to you.
Mm,
If you spend more time alone than interacting with other people, or if you believe you don't really need nobody, like I got it, I don't, you can be here or you can't. I don't need you in my life. And another sign of this attachment style could also be commitment issues. So,
mm.
Bailey, speaking of commitment issues, tell like some of the ways that it manifests in relationships.
Yeah, so anxious, avoidant attachment in adults may tend to navigate in relationships at our arm's length, says people. So the need for emotional intimacy is simply lacking in this type of individual. So romantic relationships are not able to reach any level of depth.
Mhm.
Um, while they allow romantic partners to engage with them, they avoid getting emotionally close.
Mm,
Because that ties back to what Kristen was saying about the distrust of others and not allowing people to come close and just a hard time trusting people. A partner may feel as if they never get inside or will inevitably be stonewalled or dismissed when the relationship feels too serious for the anxious, avoidant partner. Uh,
mm. It's pretty deep.
it's very deep.
Yeah. So let's talk about anxious attachment style. I feel like that's another one that can resonate with, really honestly, all of these can resonate with somebody. But I've heard a lot of conversation about this one. So this one always intrigues me, So anxious attachment style is also known as anxious ambivalent or anxious preoccupied. So this is another type of insecure attachment style, and it's characterized by a fear of rejection. I think we all know that one. Fear of abandonment, depending on a partner for constant validation or emotional regulation. You kind of don't feel like you can be secure without their affirmation, without their constant checking and validating of you. And of course, some of those codependent tendencies.
Mm.
So break it down for us, Bailey. Where does this come from? How was
Um,
this even developed?
Yeah. So how is it developed? So this attachment style stems from inconsistent parenting that isn't attuned to the child's needs. So similarly to avoidant attachment style, like the basic needs of a child are unmet or slowly met. These children have difficulty understanding their caregivers and have no security for what to expect moving forward. They're often confused within their parental relationships and feel unsafe. Children with this attachment style experience very high distress when their caregivers leave. Sometimes we see this in little toddlers when their mom leaves. They are extremely distressed and just distraught. Sometimes the parents will be supportive and responsive to the child's needs, while at other times they will not be attuned to their children.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, and additionally, if you have an anxious attachment style, or if you think you have an anxious attachment style, your parents may have also um, alternated between being overly coddling, or detached or indifferent.
mm,
So of course that can be confusing to a child because on one hand you are super supportive and maybe overly coddling, and then on the other hand you're detached and indifferent.
mm,
Um, Secondly is being easily overwhelmed. Um, and then also sometimes being inattentive or attentive and then push you away. So they're giving you attention, and then on the other hand, they're pushing you away. So again, just confusing and different signs and signals that a parent can give. And then lastly, made you responsible for how they felt,
Mm.
which I think is huge to kind of pause on and think about. A child having to kind of bear the responsibility for their parents' emotions and feelings.
Which is
Um,
impossible. You know,
yeah,
that they just don't have the emotional, psychological fortitude to be able to even navigate such a
yeah,
thought process. So it's in a lot of cases, these children grow up thinking that they are supposed to take care of other people,
yeah.
you know, and they often become codependent. You know,
Mm,
these are the people that sometimes are very self-sacrificing. And then on one hand, it looks like, oh, she's or he's so selfless, or they are so attentive. But is it to your detriment?
mm,
But are you aware of your needs?
mm,
No,
yeah,
and is your value rooted in this? All of these are good reflective questions to consider when we're thinking about attachment styles and how it impacts how we show up. So, some signs.
mm,
Clingy tendencies, y'all.
mm,
It's a sign of that anxious attachment style. Also, being highly sensitive to criticism, even whether it's real or perceived. So,
mm.
whether somebody is having a real conversation with you, or even if it's, I think they might be talking about me, Baylie. What they whispering about over there? See, every time I walk by her, she when they couldn't even be talking about me, Baylie. But here I am making it an issue
Yeah,
because that wounding, that attachment style is being agitated. So also that constant need of approval from other people, you know, having those jealous tendencies, if there's a difficulty when it comes to being alone, you know, having low self-esteem, feeling unworthy of love. Like that's not available for me. That's a beautiful song or that's a beautiful movie, but that can never happen to me.
mm.
And Bailey has such a wonderful relationship, but I can't do that. I can't have that.
Yeah,
You
and I also would add to needing approval from others, needing approval from your significant other,
know?
and needing constant validation
Mhm.
um, is one that I would add into here. It is in our signs that we have, but just kind of adding that to needing approval from others.
Yeah, that's huge too. So much of your worth is defined in what other people think. You know, your pride is defined by from someone else's eyes, you know? And of course, that significant fear of abandonment. And
Mm,
with that comes so many things because if I'm afraid to be alone, I'll put up with just about anything.
yeah,
You know, I'll take things I shouldn't take in relationships, you know, just because I'm afraid.
yeah,
And of course, that difficulty trusting, you know,
yeah.
some pretty key signs when it comes to this anxious attachment. But
Yeah.
what about the manifestation of it in relationships?
Yeah, so people with anxious attachment styles usually feel, again, like Kristen said, unworthy of love, need constant reassurance from their partners, like I was speaking to a few minutes ago. They often blame themselves for challenges in their relationship and can exhibit frequent and intense jealousy or distrust due to poor self-esteem. Um, Ultimately, there's a deep-rooted fear of abandonment. So, as Kristen said, deeply fear of abandonment, being rejected, or being alone. And those fears typically express themselves in these ways.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. Tell us about what's a disorganized attachment style, Kristen.
You know, Bailey, honestly, this one really intrigues me. Yeah.
Really?
I think y'all will like it too, because the T is it's kind of a mixture of the first two, well, the middle two we just mentioned. So last but not least, we're unpacking what is a disorganized attachment style. So anxious disorganized attachment is defined as having extremely inconsistent behavior and a difficulty trusting others. So one of the most common causes of this and how it is developed is from childhood trauma.
Mm.
So often from forms of neglect, even forms of abuse.
Mm.
So it's that fear of their parents or their caregivers and the safety or lack thereof that was present. So a lot of times children and individuals with this attachment style may seem confused.
Mm.
So the caregivers were inconsistent and are often sources of comfort, but then discomfort. And that leads to that disorganization.
Yeah.
So tell us about some signs, Baylie, so we can
Yeah.
take a little bit deeper of a dive.
Yeah, so some signs of disorganized attachment style include fear of rejection, inability to regulate your emotions. So, kind of bringing you back to our first one, secure attachment, you have the ability to regulate your emotions, whereas in disorganized, you do not. Um, Contradictory behaviors. So, as Kristen said, children and individuals that have this attachment style may seem confused, high levels of anxiety, difficulty trusting others, and signs of both avoidant and anxious attachment styles together. Um, this type is often associated with mental health conditions in adulthood, including mood disorders, personality disorders, self-harm, and substance use disorder. So that's big too. Just to give people information, psychoeducation about surrounding these things is important.
Yeah,
So how does it manifest, Kristen?
that's a good one. Yeah. It clearly in some of the ways you just mentioned, in some of the mood disorders and the personality disorders and things of that nature, but the way that we can often see it in relationships as well is that people with this attachment style, they tend to have unpredictable or
Mm.
confusing behaviors. So these are kind of our hot and cold people. We're not sure where we stand from day to day. We're not sure what we're going to expect. So they can alternate from being aloof and independent, like I'm good, Baylie. I don't need you, girl.
Mm.
To then being clingy, Baylie, don't leave. Where you going? What time? When you gonna get back though? But you said that. Okay, but you ain't answer my text.
Yeah.
Like, who are we going to be from day to day? So it's the clinginess, it's the emotionality. So on one hand, while they desperately seek love, they also push partners away because of their fear of love. So
Mm.
they believe that they'll always be rejected,
Mm.
but they don't avoid emotional intimacy. They fear it.
Mm. I think that's important to kind of pause there and make it kind of clear, like they don't avoid being emotionally intimate with their partner or in relationships, but they fear what will happen when they are.
There it is. That's literally the whole picture, They
Mm.
fear it but also consistently seek it out. So even though I'm terrified of this thing, I really like it when it's around. But don't let it get too close because no.
Mhm.
So it's the hot and cold. And so they perceive their partners as unpredictable. And they themselves believe in unpredictable ways within their relationship. So as they continue to wrestle between the need for security and their fear. And so it is very much of, like I said, a hot and a cold, a yes and a no. Makes me think of, what is it, that Katy Perry song? You're hot and you're cold, you're yes and you're
Oh, yeah, yeah.
it makes me think of that energy because it's one way and then it's not. It's you're invested and then it's where are we? So when we really think about all of these signs, I'm sure a lot of us has probably thought of relationships that we've been in. We could have thought of friendships. Sometimes we might even think of our upbringings, just reflecting on these things. And most importantly, I'm sure we start to do some soul digging and start looking at ourselves like, oh, Lord, is that me? Or
Yeah.
Is that why I did such and such? Or is that why I felt XYZ in that relationship?
Yeah.
So
For
I think
sure.
so I think it's important for us to really just process and consider this deeper. But what do you feel like are some good core questions that have come from this topic, Baylie? Like some different things for us to think about and process together.
Yeah, I think one is what are some signs of unhealthy attachment in relationships? So, of course, we've spoken about how does it manifest in relationships and um, what does this look like in relationships? But I think some signs of unhealthy attachment relationships is the jealousy aspect. I'll touch on that a little bit.
Mhm,
Um, if you have a significant other and you like to spend time with your girlfriends outside of the house or the home, um, and that person, your significant other, um, expresses a lot of jealousy surrounding, who you're spending time with and really expressing insecurity around how much you're spending time with these people and that you're going out. I think that could be a telltale sign
oh, yeah.
of unhealthy attachment in your relationship. And of course, there is the need to make sure that your partner is safe when they go out
Mhm,
and that they are around people that are going to keep them safe. And, there is that, of course, as well. But when it becomes excessive, is
mhm.
when it becomes unhealthy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And thank you for qualifying that because we don't want people to feel like, am I just not supposed to check in? You
Yeah.
should. You should you should check in. You should know how your love, your partner, and want to know how they're doing. But is your worthiness attached to that? Is
Yeah.
your self-esteem? Is your value? So making sure that we're teetering that line with grace, with care. I would say another good sign of that is the clinginess,
Mm,
and I think all of us appreciate being appreciated in relationships, but if there's this smothering,
yeah.
if there's this, you know, losing of ourselves, we don't
Mhm.
even know who we are. It makes me think of we've all seen Coming to America. And so what do we think of sis? Whatever you like,
Yeah. I
whatever
think, yeah, people pleasing too.
people pleasing, it's what I think, what I do, it doesn't matter, but whatever you okay, is that what you wanna I'm losing who I am just
Yeah.
so that I can have this relationship because I don't want to be abandoned.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
think,
yeah, go ahead.
I think something else I just thought about when you were saying, am I losing myself in this relationship? A good telltale sign is, are you suppressing your emotions when you're with this person in order to for lack of a better word, keep the peace.
Mhm.
I think that is a really good sign is if you feel like you can't fully disclose how you feel in a situation to your significant other, then that may be a sign of an unhealthy attachment, especially if you don't feel safe to do so.
Ooh, Bailey, you hit the nail on the head. That's a good one. That is a very good one. If we feel like we have to censor who we are, whether it's censoring our speech or censoring our truth or not expressing ourselves fully, these are signs. These
Yeah.
are some pretty firm signs. So awesome, awesome input on that. There was something that I was thinking as before you talk, because that was such a good point. My brain was like, but there it is, low self-esteem. And so
Mhm.
we talk about this often as clinicians
Mhm.
and how our work in all of our relationships, anything that we do, it's my belief, it's my philosophy. Our work starts within. So if I don't feel good about me, my relationship isn't going to be good. If I'm
Mhm.
not working on myself, if I don't love myself, that energy is going to show up in my relationship in some kind of way, and it will erode it. It will eat at it. It will impact it in such a heavy, and almost dependent on how deep my disdain towards myself is. It could show up in a toxic way. And
Yeah.
so, I think about one of my favorite singers, Jill Scott, she said on her live album, at the end of one of her songs, she said, "Whoever you are, love yourself, and then we can really start loving each other." And
Mm,
I just thought that was so powerful. And it's just such a note for all of us that, listen, we got to start with loving ourselves. We got to start with, building our self-worth, our self-esteem, so that we can
absolutely.
show up in these relationships.
Absolutely.
You got
Absolutely.
one more sign for us, baby? Let's give them one more.
I would say the fear of rejection, thinking about an individual not necessarily straying away from emotional connection, but just fearful of it when they do and not allowing it to pass whatever their threshold is. I think
Boundaries.
it's a good, yeah, and whatever their boundary is to protect or they perceive protecting themselves because of this fear.
Mhm.
Um, I think is another sign if you can pinpoint that within yourself, but then maybe the individuals that you are in relationships with, whether that's friendships or romantic relationships, being able to kind of identify these things. And I think this takes a lot of all of these attachments that we're talking about take a lot of self-reflection.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Self-awareness.
Yeah.
I've said this and shared this with so many of my clients. I remind myself of it often that self-awareness is a superpower.
Mhm.
Because when we start to know better, we are equipping ourselves with tools to be better.
Absolutely.
And so just this conversation is sparking something in all of us to look at a little bit deeper, to do our healing, to evaluate our relationships, to
Yeah.
make sure that they're healthy.
Yeah.
Which leads me to the next question that often comes up around this topic is, let's say I'm anxious. I am an anxious attachment style. This is not my jam. I struggle. Can I become secure? Is it possible that I can even heal this? Is this something that I can even correct? Would there be hope for me, Baylie?
Yeah, yeah. I definitely think that you can help this and heal. I think that a way that you can do it and start is that self-awareness and
Mhm.
being aware of your personal tendencies. If you know that you have a tendency to push people away when they get too close for your comfort, maybe being aware of that and making a conscious effort to um, do the opposite and kind of get out of your comfort zone a little bit. I think that is a way that you can start to become secure and become a secure attachment.
Mm,
Yeah. What
perfect.
about you?
I agree wholeheartedly. Shout out to Bailey. That's that's the truth. That's it. The reality is again going back to what I said earlier and what Bailey just stated beautifully is that when we become aware of this, we are and can begin to equip ourselves with tools to correct it. So
Yeah.
the answer is yes. If anything that we've said resonated with you and you feel like that definitely sounds like me. That was my childhood experience. My parents were exactly that way, whether it's different stories or different things that come to your mind that make you feel like, okay, that's my truth. Am I stuck? No, you're not. You're not. This is absolutely that's something that you can heal from and you can get the support in. And individuals like myself and Bailey and so many therapists, are fully equipped to start you along that journey. So
Yeah.
knowing this information is powerful because we
Yeah.
can fix it. It's not anything for us to feel bad about, but for us to be empowered to start taking our lives back.
Yeah. And I also would add to that is if you have been listening to us and you are kind of reflecting on maybe your current relationship or a previous relationship and you are maybe feeling like, oh, I'm secure. I'm good. Y'all confirm. So, affirm me or that really kind of resonated with me or that's on my street. Um,
You're
I
moving.
think that just practicing grace on yourself throughout this process is just another huge thing I would add is,
Yes.
yes, you can become secure and have a secure attachment style, but it takes time and that self-awareness and just practicing grace that you will eventually get there. And if you're being intentional, you absolutely will.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just wanted to add that always practice grace on yourself, because even Kristen and I are not perfect. And I'm sure some of these things we could resonate with in our past, and just things that we've had to recognize and be self-aware about. But there is a journey that you have to take, and just being patient and practicing grace is what I would add.
Listen, listen, Bailey. Bailey's preaching, y'all, because I feel like I say this often, often, often when it comes to the concept of grace. When you're on this journey, grace is one of the most important concepts and one of the most important things that you will revisit again and again and again when it comes to showing up for you. And so, because we're real people helping real people with real problems, I saw myself in so many of these attachment styles at one point. If I'm
Mhm.
honest, there are points still, as a person who's doing this work and believes in this work, I also embody this work and realize sometimes I might got a gut check, like, okay, Kristen, let's be present. What's the story that we're telling ourselves here? And let's heal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So understanding that this is something that is human, but it's healable.
Yeah. And I think there's so much solidarity in that too, what you just said, Kristen, of like a sense of community, really, of we're not perfect and we all are going to find ourselves in these attachment styles. But, back to the question, it is, you are able to heal and you are able to find yourself regardless of your childhood, regardless of your upbringing. You can become secure if that's what you desire.
Yes, I love it. So we have some pretty powerful quotes that we wanted to share with you all. And I'll share the first one, and it is by Nora Samaran. And it says, attachment theory teaches us that true autonomy relies on feeling securely connected to other human beings. So, in
Mm,
a nutshell, that is the root of this theory. That is the purpose and the process of this information, to get you to an understanding that true autonomy relies on you being securely connected, not anxiously, not ambivalently, not disorganized, but knowing that I can be secure. I can let them be who they need to be. I can trust, something we say a lot in this work, and I know it can sound like therapist talk, but it's very true. I can trust the process. I can honor this journey because I'm secure and I know that I can't miss what's for me. I can't miss, the blessings, the benefits, the lessons from these relationships, from these experiences. And I can honor that. And so that's really the goal in this information. What's the other quote, Bailey?
yeah. So a child with secure attachment style will likely grow up into an adult who feels worthy of love and seeks to create meaningful, healthy relationships with people who are physically and emotionally available. And this is by Jessica Fern. Um, so really, to piggyback off of the first quote, is just a child that experiences their basic needs being met by their parents in their formative years, and they experience that secure attachment um, in their relationship with their parents, and then they grow up into an adult and they feel worthy of love. They seek that meaningful, healthy relationship with people, um, and are physically and emotionally available to those people, and from people that are emotionally available to them.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, this is pivotal, I think, to understand is, yes, this starts, like Kristen said in the beginning, in your formative years, but it is, you can heal
Yeah.
regardless of how your childhood was. But what's the next quote?
Yeah, Baylie, I was gonna say something. Baylie gets me so caught up, y'all. Like I'll be something, then I'm like, Baylie, I felt that. I was gonna say maybe it'll come back to me. But so basically making sense of the way that we interact or that an individual interacts with their partner and knowing why they react in these certain ways makes the journey much better. So for those of us who are in relationships, for those of us, and it doesn't even have to be romantic. It could be with your bestie. It could be, with a coworker. It could be with your neighbor. It could be, with the person that you work with or do life with in some capacity. Just understanding this person that you're in partnership with and knowing their why and how and just kind of the root to the reasons of how they react can make the journey towards healing much better. So, just as we said, around the process of healing, these new patterns of thinking can emerge and new behaviors can evolve, and the old ones can be corrected with this information, with this knowledge as we apply it to our lives. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it says in many cases, individuals may need to talk to a counselor. Kristen and I are both therapists at New, and throughout our work, both of our work, we help people kind of make sense of their childhood experiences. It goes on to say, and how it affects their future relationships. I mean, it may not be an easy journey, but it is well worth it. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, like I was saying, Kristen and I help individuals make sense of their childhood experiences and how it affects their future relationships and their current relationships.
Yes.
And just being able to walk them through that journey because it is a journey that you have to take. But with a professional, it is easier and it can be easier.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember what I was going to say. With this work, with this theory being so rooted in the formative relationships, whether they were with their parents or with another caregiver, you know, the question often comes up, or even just the reflection necessary that comes up is around parenting.
Mm.
And so, for those of you who are parents, who may have felt, just that conviction, that prick to realize, like, I can raise my children securely. I can help them show up in the world so they don't have the stories, the experiences, the pathologies, that I've experienced. That's just another blessing to this theory and this work when it comes to embodying your healing. So, for those who are parents, who are wanting to be parents, I find that to be another beautiful um, just benefit of this journey of taking it. Because again, I know better. So now I'm doing better, but now I'm passing on that betterment
Yeah,
to my babies, to, the children that I teach, to, the friends that I interact with. I'm spreading this information, this knowledge, and this empowerment, you know?
absolutely. Absolutely. Generationally, it sounds like being able to pass it on to different generations and pass it down and it become um just a tradition that we pass this knowledge down to our kids and then their kids and so on and so forth. I think that was a really, really good point that you made, Kristen, and for sure, um, just making sure that when you know better, you do better.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we know better. Let's do better, y'all. So, our talk is coming to an end, y'all. It has been so fun to share this space with you, but we want to give you some resources. We want to give you some information before we check out this time together. So, if anything that we said resonates with you, and you're like, I need some answers. I want to know about this attachment thing Kristen and Baylie are talking about. How do I get started? So if you want to know what your attachment style is, you can visit www.attachmentproject.com so that you can get some understanding and find some support to help you on your healing journey. This website will give you a very detailed review that will help you understand after you take the test what your specific attachment style is and some of the roots and also the routes toward healing. So just wanted to drop that on y'all as you do the work.
Yeah. Yeah. And some other resources is the mental health assistance. So the National Alliance on Mental Health Helpline, that number is 800 950 6264. And the Tennessee statewide crisis phone line is 855-274-7471. And these are all available online as well. And the crisis text line. So you text home in all caps to 741 741. And then the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is the 988 number. And then it's 1-800-273-8255.
Yeah, so we want to make sure y'all are fully equipped if you need support at any time.
Yes.
You're listening ear. You are in a crisis, you're not in a crisis. You just need someone to talk to. Gratefully, the Suicide Prevention Lifeline also offers a warm line for you to just be able to talk and hold space. And of course, last but not least, we at Nashville Emotional Wellness Counseling, we at NEW are here for you. So hit us up, y'all. And you can ask for me specifically, Kristen Small, or the wonderful Baylie Spring, and we are more than happy to support and hold space with you. And if not us, we have a phenomenal team of clinicians. And what's beautiful about what we do and where we do it, we are aligned in this work, and we really believe and that we are real people helping real people with real problems. And we are determined to remove this stigma, y'all. We want to bring mental health and wellness to everybody. We want it normalized. We want everyone to get the support and care they need. So this is how you reach us at contact at newcounselingpllc.com. You can send us an email there. You can give us a call at 615-398-1292. You can hit up our website at www.newcounselingpllc.com. And last but not least, look us up on social. We're on YouTube. We're on LinkedIn. We're on TikTok, y'all. We on TikTok, okay?
Twitter.
We're on Twitter. And we're on Instagram. So you can find us on all of those platforms at New Counseling PLLC. So look us up, y'all. We want to hold space with you. And we want to continue this conversation.
Yes, please, please. But thank you all for tuning in to this month's edition of News Conscious Conversations. We hope that you were inspired, that you were uplifted and empowered by the information that you received today, and that you learned something and that you feel just ready to do the work. If you have any questions, reflections, or feedback, we want to hear from you. Feel free to leave us a comment or reach out to us via email at contact@newcounselingpllc.com.
Yes, y'all. So it is our goal. It is our goal to equip you with the tools to be the best version of you. So we know that everyone needs a safe and supportive space that will allow them to reconnect with themselves. So if you ever need any additional support, we're here for you. We're here with you. So we'll see you next time. Please take care of yourselves and each other. Bye.